All right, everybody. It's time for a new Periscope. Just want to invite everybody who's coming on right now. You can share this Periscope by swiping from right to left on your iOS device, or swiping from, how you doing, Yogana? Good afternoon, brother. Swiping from right to left on your iOS device, or you can swipe from, I believe it is up to down if you're on an Android. Scroll, click, share. I'm doing all right, Jones. Just click it and share it. Share it on Twitter. Shalom to you, Shwanice. You can share it via Twitter. Share it on Facebook. And see, Carolina is here. Georgetown, how you doing? Jan, there we go. That's better. MIA is in the house. Okay, I'm saying in the house. How you doing? How you doing, Nicholas? God is good, huh? All right, so let's get right into it. And forgive me for my poor vernacular at the top. But I want to have a quick word of prayer with you. Then I want to share a few things, all right? Father in heaven, I thank you for the opportunity to get into the word with you, my brothers and my sisters, my friends. And I'm praying for your Holy Spirit to give us wisdom and guide and direct our hearts and minds into all truth. May we come to understand the very nearness of the second coming of Jesus Christ. For this I pray and ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Yeah, you should be able to hear it. You may see nothing right now because I purposely have the white screen right there, but you should be able to hear everything. Queens, Eddie, how you doing, Eddie? All right, good. Well, we're about to see something. So just the other day, when I say the other day, it was on the 13th, Pope Francis put this tweet out on his official Twitter page. So here it is. This is what Pope Francis said. Let us learn solidarity. Without solidarity, our faith is dead. Let's look at that one more time. Pope Francis says, let us learn solidarity. Without solidarity, our faith is dead. And it sounds good, right? Well, for those of you that even know what solidarity means, right? Because this is actually not a very commonly used word, all right? It's not a commonly used word. Now, the screen's not blinking anymore. I got that Pope Francis's tweet up here. He said, let us learn solidarity. Without solidarity, our faith is dead. And like I said, it's not a word that people use very frequently anymore, solidarity. But and it's because it's quite new. The word is really quite new. But it basically means unity. But I want you to understand what it means in the context of Roman Catholicism. But if I was to read this just in the simplistic understanding, they're saying, let us learn unity. Without unity, our faith is dead. Now, off the back, Jesus said, I came not to bring peace, but a sword. And unity is great. Of course, we definitely want unity. You're right, it's ecumenicism, but it's even deeper than that. I want to get into that. And unity is great, but the question is, upon what premise are we seeking for unity? You know, there has to be a premise for unity. If people are just seeking after unity through the means of compromise, then that unity is actually destructive. And that's something that the Roman Catholic Church is noted for doing from its very inception. When the Christian Church united with the pagan Roman Empire, they were trying to unify the Roman Empire at that time, but they sought to unify on the premise of compromise. That's why they were able to, that's why they introduced Easter, they introduced Christmas, they introduced Sunday worship, all of these things that were very familiar to the practices of the pagans within the Roman Empire at that time. And by this means, they were hoping to build a bridge that would unite the pagans and Christians. And so that was solidarity, so to say, for their time. But I want you to see, okay? I want you to see, not from my words, but from their own very words, all right? I want you to see from their own very words what solidarity means in the context of Roman Catholicism. So take a look at this. This is from the Catholic Social Teachings website, okay? Given our empiricist, pragmatic mindset and the inheritance we have received in British culture from Protestantism, giving priority to the individual rather than the collective, to private rather than to public, to autonomy rather than community, it is not surprising that the word and concept, meaning solidarity, aren't more deeply embedded in our language or culture. Now, I want to read that one more time. You may not have gotten that. It says, given our empiricist pragmatic mindset and the inheritance we've received in British culture from Protestantism, and they're saying that these principles make us give priority to individuals rather than to the collective, to private rather than to public, to autonomy rather than community, it is not surprising that the word and concept aren't more deeply embedded in our language or culture. In other words, the reason why many people are not very familiar with solidarity, especially in the Western world where Protestantism has found a haven of rest. And really, it's not just saying where Protestantism has found a haven of rest, but it's saying that Protestantism is actually one of these principles that lay at the root of people giving priority to themselves rather than to working with others. Let me just make it simple. I don't even want to go through it all. It's saying that Protestantism happens to be a teaching and a belief system that separates rather than unifies. So I have to help you right now from the top. I just want you to understand from the top that when they're talking about solidarity, they're saying that solidarity is something that can be accomplished only when these principles of empiricalism or pragmatism or the Protestant teachings that we've inherited from British culture, those things have to be set aside so that solidarity can be accomplished. So in other words, Protestantism in their mindset is the antithesis of solidarity, and solidarity is the antithesis of Protestantism. You can't have Protestantism and have solidarity, and you can't have solidarity and have Protestantism. One of them has to go. Are you getting my point right now? Are you getting my point? So when the Pope is calling for solidarity amongst faiths, he's calling for the end of protesting. He's calling for the end of protesting because that's the only means by which there can be unity. Are you getting that one point? If you understand that point, put hearts on the screen. Man, there's like 3 people that understand. Okay, I see. And this is a very important point to understand. Now, I want you to see how much deeper this goes. I want you to see how much deeper this goes, because many interviews are done by the Pope. And he uses words that many people say, oh, this sounds so good. I like what he said. This is what we need. But you don't understand what he's saying unless you understand the words that he's using in the context of his belief system. And solidarity truly has become a word used within secular society and within the realms of Christendom as a result of Roman Catholicism. So therefore, when you think of the concept of solidarity, you really need to go to Roman Catholicism to see what do they really mean by this principle of unification when they use the word solidarity to explain it, because it's not something that we commonly use to to promote unity. We just say unity, but they say solidarity because solidarity encompasses more than just your traditional concept of unity. All right, let me just keep on going. All right, just want to take you a little bit further. Here we go. We're just looking at a few things, all right? I just put this together quickly for you guys so that you might kind of get some of the points that I want to share with you. Pope Paul VI, in his encyclical in 1967 called Popularum Progressio, which means development of the peoples, all right? This is what he said. There can be no progress toward the complete development of humankind without the simultaneous development of all humanity in the spirit of solidarity. Now, what does he mean by the spirit of solidarity? He's going to break it down. Man must meet man Nation must meet nation as brothers and sisters, as children of God. So when they're talking about solidarity, this is not just talking about individuals coming together and uniting. It's talking about nations coming together and uniting. So when he's promoting the principle of solidarity, the faith groups, he's not just calling for faith groups to come together and unite as one, but he's also calling for faith groups to promote the agenda of nations coming together to unite as one. That's correct. He uses dark sentences. So it's a call for not just faith groups to come together and unite as one, but as faith groups come together and unite as one, he wants them also to go forward now to promote the agenda of bringing nations together as one. This is the whole concept of solidarity. In this mutual understanding and friendship, in this sacred union, we must also begin to work together to build the common future of the human race. This is what they're talking about when they're dealing with solidarity. Now, in recent times, I want you to see when this concept of solidarity was applied by the Roman Catholic Church and what the results of the application of the principles of solidarity by the Roman Catholic Church had upon society. All right, look at this. Look at this. For most Christians, as for secular media, the theme of solidarity first entered the consciousness in 1980, when an unemployed electrician called Leka Walsella, I'm sorry for my pronunciation, led a strike in, I'm not going to pronounce that right now because I don't speak good Russian. Led a strike in, there the name is, shipyard over food price increases and wage controls under the banner of solidarity. Within 18 months, that banner had spawned a trade union with 10 million members, which ultimately triggered the collapse of the Eastern Bloc and the dissolution of the Warsaw Pact. What we're actually looking at is how solidarity acted as the battle axe to destroy the USSR. Solidarity was the means by which the USSR was brought to its knees, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Now, who was behind promoting this solidarity? How did the people respond to it? I'm trying to share this with you right now, some of this history, because the Bible says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 15, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God requireth that which is past. So in other words, the things that took place in the past, they're taking place in our present day society. And the things that will unfold in the future, they've at least in principle taken place in the past. Therefore, God wants us to have a knowledge of the things that have taken place in the past so that we can better understand what's going on right now and what's getting ready to go on in the future. In other words, there's no new thing under the sun and history will repeat. So let's take a look at it. Solidarity, how did it operate in the past? It led men to unite. It led men to bring about civil it led to civil unrest. It led to the breaking up of the USSR. All right. And it also helped formulate trade unions. All right. Trade unions played a very interesting role in cooperation with solidarity. Okay. So let's go one step further. Look at this. All right. On June 5th, 1979, because remember, it was in 1980 that Lech Walesa rose up and began this strike that brought about the Solidarity Trade Union, which ultimately led to the breaking down of the Eastern Bloc, all right? But now let's look at what happened in 1979, the year before, that actually incited Lech to move forward and cause this strike that brought about the ripple effects that brought the Eastern Bloc to its knees. Watch this. On June 5th, 1979, Pope John Paul II arrived in Poland to visit his homeland. As he descended the stairs of the plane in Warsaw, he kissed the ground and incited a spiritual earthquake. During his visit at the Auschwitz concentration camp, the symbol of the evil of the totalitarianism, he told the thousands of people gathered from the Eastern European countries to resist the falsehood they had been told. You are not who they say you are. So let me remind you who you are. He preached about the dignity God had given to each of us. Have you noticed recently you hear Pope Francis talking a lot about the dignity of man or the dignity of mankind? It's no new message. All right? No new message, this whole dignity of mankind. It sounds good, but there is a secret agenda that is hidden behind it. All right? So he talked about the dignity that God had given to each of us, especially through our Savior. At Krakow, he again emphasized the need for spiritual and cultural renewal. Sorry about that. Preserving Poland's strong faith and the transforming power of Christ's love. Now watch this. In response, the people chanted, "We want God. We want God. We want God in the family. We want God in the schools. We want God in the books." The visit emboldened the solidarity movement. And by 1980, the government recognized Solidarity as the first independent trade union in the communist bloc. At the time, President Reagan commented to a friend, "I have had a feeling, particularly in the Pope's visit to Poland, that religion may turn out to be the Soviets' Achilles heel." Ladies and gentlemen, listen. I hope you got what I just shared with you. I hope you got these little tidbits that I just shared with you. Because here's the point. When the Pope came to the then USSR, pushing solidarity, it made the people rise up within a communist government and say, "We want God. We want God in our schools. We want God in our books." They wanted God. They wanted God. They wanted God. And it brought that nation down to its knees. Now, why were the people calling for God? I'm just doing simple mathematics. They were calling for God in the schools, God in the books, and God in the family because communism had removed God from the schools, God from the books, God from the family. Now I wonder, here in the United States of America, has God been removed from the family? Has God been removed from the books? Has God been removed from schools? Yeah, I know the United States of America is defined as a democracy. Really, it's supposed to be a republic, but that's a whole different conversation. But I know the United States of America is supposedly a democracy. But when you look at its political policies, when you look at its governing of the people, it mirrors more so under the Obama administration socialism and Marxist values more than a republic. And that's a fact. We've pushed God out of the schools, God out of the books, God out of the family. And now you have a pope calling for solidarity. Same thing that he was calling for when he was at Independence Hall in Philadelphia when he came to the United States of America, making a call for globalization as well. This call for solidarity has been incessant. And the labor unions happen to resonate with this message. Now, I want you to see that the labor unions here in the United States of America actually resonate with this message of solidarity that's coming from Pope Francis. I'm trying to help you understand in principle how these things are actually taking place right before our eyes. But because we don't know the signs, we don't realize what's happening. See, a person can be sick, but if they don't know the signs, they'll go along day by day, having a cancer growing in them until they hit to the 4th stage and there's no help for them. And I want us to understand that the writing is on the wall. We've got a tumor that is growing out of control. Take a look at this. I want you to see what CNN had to say concerning Pope Francis and his alignment with labor unions and literally the way that he incites this spirit of rebellion when it so fits him. Listen, this man is very intelligent. He is a Jesuit. He is educated in these tactics. The Jesuits were put out of almost every country in Europe because it was realized by the various monarchs of the European nations that the Jesuits were the ones for inciting civil unrest in all of their nations. There's no new thing under the sun. And how do they do it? Ladies and gentlemen, they don't go in with guns. They don't go in with bombs. No, the way they incite civil unrest is through starting grassroots movements, by insinuating their ideologies into the society in such a way that it's very enticing and attractive to the people, and it causes the people to actually move forward to, let me just say, let's say it like this. When the Pope comes through and talks, he makes the people move. That's the way that Jesuits always operate. They try to get close to people of influence and then influence them with their ideologies, that those influential individuals will then go forth and use their influence to permeate the Jesuit ideologies to the masses, thereby accomplishing Catholic agenda. That's it. I hope it was simple. Was that simple? Does everybody understand what I just said? Put hearts on the screen if you understand what I said. Okay. Like I said before, I want you to see how Pope Francis has aligned himself with the labor unions, and this brother's tongue is really fiery, so take a look at this. All right, here we go. During a recent speech in Bolivia, the Pope sounded like a fiery union organizer. Really interesting. Let us not be afraid to say it. We want change, real change, structural change. Francis insisted highlighting labor along with access to affordable housing and land as sacred rights. So notice, in Bolivia, where he doesn't have to really tippy-toe with his speech, he talks real hardcore, straight up. No political correctness. Don't be afraid. We want change, real change, structural change. Now, he wouldn't come to the United States of America with that blunt type of speech because it wouldn't accomplish his designs. It would be too forthright for the politicians here in the United States of America for him to be so forthright to say such a thing. All right. But now I want you to see the way that the unions in the United States of America identify with Pope Francis. Look at this. We are making efforts to amplify Pope Francis's message because we think he speaks for a higher set of values that animate the labor movement. I don't want you to miss that word. Animate. When you think of animate, what does that mean? That means to set into operation, to make them active. So that means that Pope Francis's words are being looked upon by the leaders, the policy director of the AFL-CIO. His words are being looked at as effective to put the labor movement, the labor unions into movement, to actually move forward, to try to forcefully bring about change. Because if you know anything about these labor unions, these guys are thugs in the realest sense of the word. You want to see some thugs? Go and look at the labor unions when they want to accomplish their designs. So let's continue to read. We are making efforts to amplify Pope Francis's message because we think he speaks for a higher set of values that animate the labor movement, says Damon Silvers, policy director at the AFL-CIO. Worldwide, he's the single most powerful voice for those values. And our goal is to have as many people to listen to him as possible. So once again, you can see it. Again, you can see it. The labor unions here in the United States of America are completely in harmony with the rhetoric of Pope Francis, and his rhetoric is a call for solidarity. I want to make this very clear because I know that some of us were so caught up in the 9 to 5, the homework, what's for dinner, what's on Netflix. I can't believe they put that on their Facebook wall agenda. Most of us are so caught up in that we're not watching what's happening within society, and we're really not familiar with sociology and how it plays a key role. The science of sociology plays a key role in bringing about this one world order. But the Pope the Catholic Church, they're very familiar with these things. They're social engineers. That's what they are. That's what they're doing right now, because they're not going to be the ones that are responsible for bringing about Sunday law, but they're actually promoting the principles that, in effect, are helping to engineer society in such a direction that people will call for Sunday law. Just like when the Pope came to the Eastern Bloc of Europe in 1979, and he made his speech. He didn't tell them put God back in the school, put God back in the family, put God back in the books. But as he spoke what he spoke, that was the only way that people could. They saw that was the only way they saw they could rationally respond to his speech. Was, okay, what he's saying is we need God to be restored to society. We need God in the schools, God in the books, God in the family. And it led to the fall of that nation. Do you think that right now, as a result of the removal of God from our schools, removal of God from our books, removal of God from our family, do you think that this is actually agitating certain groups within our society, in particular the evangelicals, that is helping to fuel them to say, you know what? We need to come together. We need to unite. For what purpose? We need to unite to cause structural changes to society. We need to unite to cause structural changes to society. And even though you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe, if we don't come together and unite, none of us will be able to practice anything that we believe. Do you see the point? See, globalization, I've said it before many a times, globalization, perfect agenda to bring together secular society. Perfect agenda to bring together secular society, because this world is everybody's home. So if you're telling everybody that the world is going to blow up, then we all need to work together to make sure that we stabilize the situation, because we want a home to live on, right? But for faith groups, which many of them are, especially evangelicals, a little bit iffy about the whole climate change issue and don't want to jump into the realms of science, when we begin to talk about solidarity and unity, and we begin to highlight the attacks that are being made upon religious liberty and so forth, the dignity of mankind, these are things that appeal to the spiritually minded, the person that's supposed to empathize with their neighbor because Christ says we should do so. And this is a great means by which the papacy can help to push forward the ecumenical agenda, which is to unite all faiths together as one under the umbrella of the mother church, which is Roman Catholicism. Ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what's going on right now. It's exactly what's going on right now. That's why the Bible said in the book of Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25, and through his policies and by his policies, he shall cause craft, deception to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by peace, he shall destroy many. So this is a man that will use policies, his policies, to cause his deceptive work to come and prosper. It's through his policies. That's what he's doing. He teaches policies. It's through his political agendas that he's causing his deceptions to be prosperous. And the Bible says, as he's doing this, as the Pope and his papal hierarchy would be doing these things, promoting themselves as moral and humble and meek, so meek, I won't drive in the Mercedes-Benz, I'll drive in a Fiat. I won't live in the papal mansion, I'm going to live in a humble apartment. As he's promoting all this humility and meekness, the Bible says the reality is he's magnifying himself in his heart. He's not a humble man. He's proud. But the most frightening thing the Bible says is, and by peace, he shall destroy many. And that's what he's trying to say. He's saying that he's trying to promote peace. But it's through his policies of peace that he's going to destroy many. That's what the Bible also said in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, beginning at verse 1, where the Bible tells us, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So the Bible is telling us when men are crying out saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them. And remember, the Bible said in Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25 that the papal power, by peace, he will destroy many. Do you think that the papacy, through its policies, will be helping to culture the minds of humanity to begin to cry out for peace, unity, globalization? But as men are calling for peace and unity, as men are saying we need to come together to stabilize our economic situations, this will ultimately bring destruction. That's what the Word of God says. And we can actually see these things taking place right now. And by the way, do you want to know one of the premises by which he's calling the faith groups to come together and unite? I want you to see this. It's the tweet that he put out the day before this tweet that he put out on October 13th. I want you to see this tweet. Take a look at this tweet. Work is important, but so too is rest. Shouldn't we learn to respect times of rest? Especially, what day is that? What day is that? Especially Sundays. Listen, their message hasn't changed. The message hasn't changed. Still full throttle for Sunday. Still full throttle for ecumenicism. Still full throttle for a new world order. Still full throttle for globalization, which is just the politically correct terminology for a new world order. And so interesting that these were the two tweets that he sent out back to back. First a call for Sunday, and then a call for solidarity. Unity. Unity. Ladies and gentlemen, serious times that we're living in. Serious times that we're living in. And I want you all to understand, it's not going to be the Roman Catholic Church that's going to bring about the Sunday law here in the United States of America. It's going to be apostate Protestantism in the United States of America that's going to bring about the national Sunday law here in the United States of America. Grabbing hold of this message of solidarity, not realizing that solidarity means death to Protestantism, according to their own definition. Because in their minds, according to Roman Catholicism, Protestantism divides. It does not bring about unity. It does not call for a man to truly take into mind the needs of his fellow man. But solidarity does. Serious situation. You know, I had a scope that I put out a while ago, and some people had asked me to repost it or so forth, which I can't repost the scopes. But in that scope, I shared a quick testimony of something that happened to me a few years ago concerning ecumenicism. Some of you may have heard it, but I'm going to share it once. I'm going to share it once again for those of you that asked, because it's completely relevant to what I just shared with you. And I hope you got it. Just wanted to take time and look at a few things because the principles are so important. A few years ago, I was going to different churches, sharing the message, sharing the gospel message, and sharing with them the necessity of taking care of our health. And I remember going to this one set of large buildings. One of them looked like a church. There was a steeple on it, white building, so forth. So I went inside, and I looked for somebody that I could speak to, and I finally found an office. Inside of that office was a secretary. I told her what my purpose was for being there, and she told me that I was at the headquarters of the ecumenical movement in New York. And for those of you that don't know what ecumenicism is, I made mention of it earlier, that the ecumenical movement primarily was agenda pushed forward by the Roman Catholic Church to unite all systems of faith together as one, acknowledging the Pope as the head of the of this movement. And so she jumped on the phone, she called somebody, then shortly thereafter, one of the directors of the ecumenical movement came out. And he didn't shake my hand, which I thought was very weird, but, you know, I didn't let that shake me. And then I began to talk to this man about what my purpose was for being there. And then all of a sudden, you know, one thing led to another, and we got into a conversation that was addressing different subject matters. And as we were talking, he began to squint his eyes and he looked at me and he said, "So where did you go to school?" And I looked at him and I told him a college that I went to for a short period of time. And then he looked at me and he said, "I knew something was different about you." He said, "You're a Seventh-day Adventist, aren't you?" And I was a bit surprised that he was able to realize that. And I said, "Yes." I said, "Yes, I am." Then he paused again and he looked at me and he said, "You know, the best preacher I ever heard was a Seventh-day Adventist preacher." He said, "That man sure did know his Bible." Then he began to talk about this minister for a bit. Then he paused again and looked at me. And he said, "So you know what we're doing here then? You know about the Council of Nice? You know about what Constantine the Great did in 321 AD? You know about the Second Vatican?" This guy began to break down all of the history that I would use to share with anybody to help them to understand unequivocally that the Roman Catholic Church is the Antichrist of Bible prophecy. I was shocked that this man had a thorough knowledge of all of this history. I mean, a thorough knowledge of all this history. My mouth was wide open. I could have caught every fly in the room. I mean, anything flying, it was going in my mouth. I was shocked. And then, you know, I got my composure back. And then I got real militant. And I looked him in the face and I said, "So you know that I know what you know." And he looked at me and he just dropped his head. That was the end of our conversation. And this conversation came about between this man and myself a day after my father, who's already passed on and in the grave, waiting for the second coming. He was in the car with me and we were talking about some Bible prophecy, and he looked at me and he said, "Chris, I wonder, do you think that some of these men that are a part of this agenda to bring about Sunday as a day of rest, do you think that some of these men actually know what they're doing?" And then God had me have that experience the very next day. Listen, they're making preparations for you. They're making preparations for you. And because we're so caught up in the 9 to 5, work a day, what's for dinner, what's on Netflix, gotta play Madden, gotta play Xbox, gotta get some new clothes, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy. Because we're so caught up in the cares of this life, as the Bible says. That's what the Bible says, the cares of this life. Because we're so caught up in the cares of this life, we're not even seeing the agenda that's going forward right under our noses. Because at this point, it's not even a smoke screen. The smoke screen is in our brains. The smoke screen is in our brains. We've allowed the fog of deception to take hold of our mental faculties so that we can't perceive what's before our very eyes. And it's time that we wake up. It's time that we wake up. And so, yeah, I just wanted to take a few moments to share this thing with you. You know, as I say when I come on here, this is my conversation with you guys. This is not like a YouTube video. This is me having a conversation with you. This is how I would sit down and talk with my friends. So, yeah, this is a very serious time that we're living in. This is no time to play around. No time for us to allow the things of this life to grip our minds so that we can press forward. So that we can press forward. and gain the mastery over sin and self. This is the hour. This is the hour. All right? So may God bless each and every one of you out there. Yeah, I'm trying to still do YouTube videos. Pray for me, all right? I'm going to do some YouTube videos soon. All right? Thanks for putting the YouTube up on the screen. If you haven't seen Leopard Vision, please take a look at Leopard Vision. It's there. It's available on YouTube. Very important. Very important documentary. I really want to encourage you to take a look at it. Thanks, brother, for putting all the he's putting everything on the screen right now. There's the email. There's the website if you want to donate. There's the GoFundMe channel if you want to donate. All those links, really important. We're trying to work on Leopard Vision Part 2 right now. So please, I did mention in one Periscope that, if we can just get $100 from 100 people, we'll be able to knock Leopard Vision Part 2 out real quick. Probably be able to knock out Part 3 at the same time as well. And so if you want to be a part of something like that, please, just avail yourself. Go to the Forerunner Chronicles website. It's in my profile. My brother put it up on the screen. It's $100. I know things are tight out here for everybody, but let's not be so tight that we can't move forward to do something for the Lord. It's $100. It could take $25 once a week for a month. You did $100. That's it. So if you're so impressed to do so, do so. If you're not, please pray that the Lord will supply. All right. And beyond that, if you have any questions, email me at the number TheForerunner777 @gmail.com. MK Ultra. Man, you want to get into a deep topic. That's the most, that is dealing with mind control of the highest order. And it is real. It is not a joke. I should drop a bombshell on you guys right now concerning MK Ultra. I'm not even going to do that right now. I'll drop a little bombshell on you later concerning these things. All right? Maybe I'll just do a little short scope later from now, 5 minutes, and leave it. All right? But God bless everybody out there. And why is the room getting filled as soon as I'm getting ready to get off here? You're late. Take your lunch break earlier. Yeah, I know I'm getting on here when people are at work and all of these things, but I'm glad that you all were able to come on. Really feel bad about the Lamar Odom situation, by the way. You put that up on the screen. I've been praying for that guy. I've been praying for him since last night. I don't know if it's MK Ultra. It's really possible. But keep that brother in your prayers. No matter what his situation is, keep him in your prayers. Sad thing to see. The way that devil just takes people, manipulates them, uses them, and destroys them. It's a sad thing. Keep them in your prayers. Just imagine, do so well like that in life, and the next thing you know, you're found passed out on the ground in a very questionable place, to say the least. With all types of mucus coming out of your nose and mouth. That's no way that you want to end your life and then wake up in the second resurrection to meet Jesus Christ in that condition. Pray for that brother that the Lord spares his life, that he might, make it into the kingdom. Keep Angus Jones in your prayers as well. All right, I'll leave it at that with Angus. All right, that's about it for now. Thanks to everybody for being here, and a lot of you guys here for this time of the day. Thought you're supposed to be at work right now. No, it's good to be at work. We're at work, but we stay in the truth. Amen. We're in the world, but we're not of the world. Amen. We're doing what we have to do to stay vigilant and stay locked into the truth. So God bless everybody. I'll be back on again later today by God's grace. And that's pretty much it. All right. So as always, this is the Forerunner, whether you like it or not. The truth